Hi, this tutorial is going to give you an introduction to breakout rooms and how to use breakout rooms during your live lessons. We will be discussing what to do prior a live lesson, how to set those up during a live lesson, and what to do after your live lesson when you use breakout rooms. Breakout rooms are basically sub-rooms that can be created in Adobe Connect within a meeting room, and they're very useful if you would like to split your attendees or your participants, in this case your students, into smaller groups so that they can either talk or collaborate. As a host, you can create or have up to 20 breakout rooms for a single session. Breakout rooms cannot be recorded. So what would happen during your live lesson, once you send your participants or students into their breakout rooms, I just recommend that you pause your recording until everybody has entered or come back into the main room, unless you would like to continue recording in the main room. And if you need to pause your recording, remember that all you need to do is on the menu bar, click on the red dot, and then you're going to get the menu that's going to prompt you to either pause the recording or stop. And I would say you can pause the recording, and once everyone has come back into the main room and your lesson continues, you can resume recording then. So I'm going to explain to you now what to do if you want to set up those breakout rooms before your live lesson. The first thing that you want to do as you prepare your breakout rooms is to either preload your content or set up your layouts. Something to keep in mind as you begin preparing your breakout rooms prior to a session is that the breakout room will always follow the layout that's on the main room at the time you start your breakouts, unless your breakout room content is preset, which is usually what teachers do. They preset their content. And what I mean by that is, if we were to start our breakout room right now, our breakout rooms would look exactly like this room right now. Look, it will have a video, an attendee, a chat pod, and the share pod. So let's start with the step number 1. When preparing your breakout rooms, what you want to do to preset the content or preset your room is to click on the breakout room view from the attendees pod menu. From here, you will see the button to start breakouts. You will also see the shuffle button, and you will see a list of the breakout rooms that is available. In this particular case, I have 3 different breakout rooms. That is actually the default of Adobe Connect. If I wanted to create another breakout room, all I would need to do is click on the plus sign or button to create a new breakout room. If you know the number of breakout rooms that you will need for your session, this is how you want to add them. There's a very important step that you must follow when setting up your content, and is you need to start breakouts prior uploading content, so that those rooms will stay that way even if you log out of the session. So as I'm preparing my content, I want to click on Start Breakout, and you will notice that you are in breakouts. You're going to get that message saying that you're now in a breakout session. You'll know that too, because now you, instead of having the option to start a breakout, you'll now have the option to end your breakout session. So it's now time to upload and prepare our rooms. So I'm going to move myself to that breakout room in order to upload content to that breakout. And I will do the same for each of the rooms that I will set up. To do that, I just need hover over my name, and then I move myself to whichever room I'm going. So right now you could see I move myself to breakout room number 1. The layout that was in the main room is preserved, so I still have my video pod, my attendees pod, and my chat pod. And I am uploading different content in different rooms, and you could do the same as you set up your content. You can also have different pods in your different breakout rooms. So if you decide to have files pod or web links pod on a session, you could simply add those to your breakout rooms. And when you are all done creating and setting up your content or your pods in the breakout rooms, you want to come back into the main room, and from there end your breakout rooms, and all of your rooms will be content will be preserved. Even if you were to log out, your breakout rooms will still have that content in there. So that's how you will set up and prepare your rooms prior to a session. If you needed to delete a breakout room because you won't be using it, you can simply click on the X next to breakout and delete it. Now notice you're going to get a message that says this will remove the room and any content of the room. So you always have to be cautious on what rooms you are removing. I'm going to click remove, and as you can see, my breakout number 4 was deleted. Once you have added the desired amount of rooms and you are all set, all you need to do is end your breakout, and that will keep all your content the way you want it. One of the things that you want to keep in mind, especially if you are using a meeting room that might be shared with others, is that your breakout room content it's the same for everyone that is a host within that meeting room. So for example, when setting up or pre-setting your lessons, keep that in mind because you might have other users or other hosts in that room that need to use the breakout rooms. If you are using breakout rooms in your own room, you might not have to worry about that, but this is something to keep in mind when you're sharing a room, as anyone that is a host on that room has access to that information, and if they need to be using the breakout rooms, then they're probably going to be moving that information, or they might even delete your information. So it's always something to keep in mind how much time in advance you are preparing your breakout rooms. So let's talk now on what to do during a session when you are doing or having breakout rooms. When you are in your session, you have the option always under the attendee spot to have the attendee view and the breakout room view. Before you start any breakouts during your session, you want to make sure that you go into the breakout room. This does not mean that you have started breakouts, and that's something that you want to keep in mind as you are in that view and you start assigning people or participants to different rooms. They will really not be leaving the main room until you don't start the breakouts. So to assign participants or students to different breakout rooms, you have two options. You could either use the shuffle button during your session, and the shuffle button, what it will do is it'll distribute your participants evenly. So if you were to have 15 students and 3 breakout rooms, then 5 students will go to each room randomly. This is very useful if you have a large group of students and you want to automatically send them to different breakout rooms. The other option you have is to manually assign participants to breakout rooms. And the way you would do that is during your session, if you have, for example, a specific content or a specific group of students that are working together or that you want to assign to a breakout room, all you would do is hover over the participant's name and then click on the breakout room that you're sending them to. They will not go there until you don't click the Start Breakout. Now, during your breakout rooms, once participants are assigned to a breakout room and you actually start the breakout rooms, your participants are automatically promoted to presenter role. What would happen is, as a presenter, your participants are now able to have access to audio, to the webcam, to the share pod, and things like that. So they are anything that a presenter can do, your participants or students will be able to do as they move to the breakout rooms. Now, once they return and you have ended your session, then they return to the prior role or their status, whichever was before you send them into the breakout rooms. One thing that we want to clarify is some of the roles and some of the things that students or participants have access to. So this is your host view and the things that you see on the menu bar and things that you have access. This is what a presenter sees, or the presenter view. So basically they'll have access to the meeting menu, speakers, microphone, webcam, and the status bar. Now, as a participant, this is the default view. So a participant only has access to their speaker and to the status bar unless you, as a host, give them the microphone and webcam. To end a breakout session, you all you need to do basically is click on the end breakout option, and you can return your attendees to the breakout rooms again. If you needed to send those students or participants back into breakout rooms, the configuration of the rooms will stay the same, as well as they will be going into the same rooms that you were initially assigned them to. However, you want to know that if you bring everybody back to the main room and you needed to make adjustments to the groups, you can. As a host, you can actually monitor the room progress from the main room. And this is a very interesting feature because you can actually use it if you send your students to breakout rooms and you wanted, if you go to the main room and you're now wanting to see, for example, if they're working on a specific task that you did, you can actually monitor that room. And the way you do that is by going into pods, breakout pods, and you'll just bring up whichever breakout room you want and whichever whichever pod you need to see. So you can always see the chat box for all of the rooms. You can always see the share and look at the slides. You can see notes. So whichever pods they're working on and you want to monitor, you can bring them up. And because you can have different pods in a room, you can actually have all of your rooms displaying in the main room if that's what you would like to do. As a host, you can also broadcast a message to all of the rooms. So for example, once you start your breakout rooms, you are going to get, and let me start breakout so I can show you in this video. You could see that now in my menu bar, I have that yellow breakout session in progress indicator. And if I click on it, you'll see that I get my option to end breakouts or to broadcast the message. So if you were in the main room and you wanted to broadcast the message to everyone, as a host, you can type your message, click on broadcast, you can type a message and you can send, and it'll be sent to all of those rooms. During a breakout room, your participants can actually send messages to each other in the chat box if that's something that you enable them to do. If you have a chat, each breakout session will share a chat room that will only be for them. However, as a participant, you also get option to message a host, and this is what they will see. They can send a message to the host. So those are the two options, and you might want to make sure that when you are giving instructions to your participants that they know what are they able to do if they need to communicate with you and you're not in the room. If you need to communicate with them either visually through the webcam or the microphone, you need to be on that specific breakout room. Another feature that I found very useful is if you ask a question to all of the breakout room, want them to respond to you using the status option menu. The status option menu will where they can either agree or disagree or raise their hand, you can certainly let them know that they can use it. Anybody on a breakout room uses the status option menu. You as a host can see that on the main room from the attendees pod. If you were to ask a message and say, for example, give me a green check when you're all done so I can bring you all back into the main room, or their status on the attendees pod menu. Now, to end a breakout session, there are two options. Once you want to bring everybody back into the main room, you can click on breakout session indicator on the red on the menu bar, which is this one right here, or you can actually go on the attendees pod and click on the end breakouts. If you are using the indicator on the menu bar, all you want to do is click on End Breakouts, and you can see that the breakouts are now ended and everyone will now be back into the main room. Please notice that although you end your breakouts, you're still on the breakout view. If you want to keep that view, although everyone is now in the main room, you can see that. This will help you see who was in breakout room 1, who was in breakout room 2. If you want to see the normal attendee view, then you just switch to the attendees view. I'm going to explain to you what to do once you have ended your breakout room and you have everyone in the main room, and you now want to bring to the main room the content that your participants work on. So what you do is, let's suppose that you're in your main room and you have all of your students and participants in here, and you now want to discuss what each room worked on. So you want to go to the pods menu and click on breakout pods. And for example, if I want to bring back what my participants in breakout room did, I can see the content that was, or the pods that were in breakout room 1. If I want to bring if my students on breakout room 2 worked on a whiteboard, I can bring that whiteboard to the main room and I can see everything that they worked on, and I'm able to share that. So you can choose, although the breakout room ended, you can now bring their content and what they worked on very easily to the main room. Once again, you want to click on pods, breakout pods, and bring the content that way, whichever pod you want to show to the main room. So now let's talk about what to do after a session. So one thing that you want to know is, if you wanted to save any content that your participants or your students worked on during a session, for example, if they worked on SharePod and you want to save a slide from the SharePod, you actually need to be on breakout rooms mode in order to save that information. And I'm going to give you an example. If I go on my breakout room view and I wanted to save what my participants did on breakout room 2, what I need to do after the session be to start the breakouts, move myself to breakout room 2, and I can click on export snapshot, and I can save my the slide as a PNG file, an image, or send the snapshot, and this will send the snapshot to your email. That's how you will save information. Now, if you are not on breakout room mode, you will not be able to save the information. If you wanted to remove breakout rooms or delete the information, for example, if you had a session where you created 15 breakout rooms and you just want to clean it all up and have it ready for next time because you're not using that particular lesson anymore, you want to be on the breakout view, click on remove all rooms. And what happens is, you're now going to be asked if you would like to save the pods for future reference. And I will highly recommend that, regardless of whether or not you think you might be using it, I will always say save it. Save the with the proper name of your session. You never know when you're going to need it. If you are in a room such as or a room where there is more than one host, this will be something that I would not do. I would not remove rooms. If you do need to remove rooms that you created, for example, if you created 5 and you only needed 3, you can always just click on the X and remove a specific room, as opposed to removing all the rooms. So when you remove a room, keep in mind that you're going to be removing the content that's in there. Okay, so it tells you this will remove your breakout room and any content. Are you sure you want to remove it? So that then again, you always want to make sure that you understand that that's the case.